Everyone, and thanks for joining me here today on YouTube. I'm excited to share a couple of fun projects with you which will feature the Crafts Club Kit from September 2018, and you can already see the products that the kit includes here on my table. The club kits from Crafts, if you are not familiar with them, are a monthly based subscriptions, and your subscription can be only for the stamps or only for the dies or for both, and both are called the product club kit subscriptions. I will post the link to the page where you can get more details about different plans and all the rules of the Crafts Club Kits. And right now I would like just to show you what the September kit includes, to look at it closer together with you, and then to give you a look at a few projects that I've made with this kit. Let's have a look at the stamps, at the stamp sets that come in the September Club Kit. The first one includes Marcy and 3 sentiments here. The stamp with Marcy is called From My Kitchen, and the sentiments are as follows. One says homemade, then the other one says with love, and the third one says from my kitchen. The second stamp set includes 3 most adorable little bears, and here they are. You can have a look at them closer. And we have this time 4 sentiments, which are as follows. You are very special to me, you are my jam, you are the sweetest, and sending bear hugs. These little bears can be used on birthday cards and just on thank you cards maybe, and on different little notes that you want to send to your friends and family and so on. So really it's very versatile. Let's have a look at the dies that we have here. We have this jar die, the mason jar die, and it was 1 piece. It came like that in the kit, and I just separated those 2 accents for the mason jar, and I guess this is the fabric cover for the jar itself, and this little strip here is kind of a tie for that. And here we have the mason jar itself, and the piece on top is the lid. So let me actually show you how the elements look like once you die cut them out of paper. So this is the jar and the lid with all those little stitched lines, and this is that fabric cover and that tying strip right here with all those tiny scallops. How tiny this piece is. Only look at that. Well, anyway, this is the mason jar. Okay, let me put it here for you to be able to see everything. Okay, this is the jar. Then we have the little doily string border, and these are really tiny, like the size of my nail. Okay, and this is how the paper piece looks like once it's die cut. It's very, very delicate. All of those tiny doilies are connected together, and I thought that as it's so thin, the paper there in the places of connection, you could easily transform the border into a shape like this and glue that around a circle or around an oval, or maybe even around a heart. And then the third one, and it's really one of my favorite dies, Right now it's this half little doily. Also very detailed, with certain parts of it being cut through and some other parts just having that stitched lines and dots. So this is the doily, and basically this is the contents of the September 2018 club kit. Now let me show you what I've done with it. The first project would be this card that you see right now on my table, and I've used all of the dies which came in the kit, the mason jar and the doily's border and the half doily die there on top. I've also used the stitched nested frames, the small ones and the large ones, to create that background layer behind Marcy. So this is the card, and I've also created a recipe box, and here it is. And for creating the recipe box, I used the stamp set with the little bears. For the little tabs of the dividers, I've used that half doily die from the club kit. So the coloring details both for Marcy and the bears will be available on my blog, and you will find the link to the post with those details in the description box below this video. And let me show you how to create this cute little recipe box for your fridge, as it has magnets and it goes straight on the fridge door, and all your recipes that you often use are right at hand whenever you need them. So let me show you how to create the box. Creating the recipe box on magnets, you will need first of all a piece of cardstock, and I'm using heavyweight cardstock. It measures 7 3/8 by 7 1/4, and on each side of this cardstock, on the long as well as on the shorter one, there are 2 score lines. So on the side which is 7 3/8, you will score one line at the mark of 1 inch, and then the other one at the mark of 6 3/8. Then you will rotate the cardstock like so, and you will score again one time at 3 1/8 and the second time at 4 1/8. Now we need to create some cuts on this piece, so they will go like this. One right here and right here. And what I want to do, I want to kind of cut out that score line that I've created in the previous step, okay, because that volume there in the places of folds we will not need. It will just prevent us from making a straight and nice looking box. So I'm getting rid of that scored section, and it's really tiny, I know, so just take your time and cut it out. Use your sharp scissors doing that, but at the end this is what you're going to get. Let's mat our box with the designer paper. Right now it's easier to make it when it lies flat. So first of all, that piece of the designer paper that I have here measures 5 1/4 by 3 inches. So I will glue that down like so. Then I will need one more piece of the designer paper, and it measures 5 1/4 by 7/8. So I'm going to glue it down to the bottom of my future box, and one more piece will measure the same as the one with the polka dots that I have right here, and it will be the back of my box. And on that side later, I will attach the magnets. It will not be seen as it will be facing the fridge door, so no one will see it. It will hold the magnets, but you can embellish it either with the designer paper or just with an extra piece of the cardstock of whatever color you want to use, just to ensure that that back wall of our box, back panel of our box, is quite sturdy. One more thing, when you are gluing this piece down, mind the direction of the paper, as once the box will be assembled, this will be the top from where all the recipe cards will go into the box, and this will be the back of it. So just something to remember. Let's continue reinforcing the score lines that we've created before. You can see that on these folds that will be on top of this pair of folds, we need to add a few more pieces of the designer paper. These measure 3 inches by 7/8, and I'm gluing that down to the pair of folds which are next to the section with that designer paper, which will be the front of my recipe box. This is what we have so far. I want to add, besides the embellishments on the front of the box, which will actually be quite modest, I will have this cute little bear with a sandwich, and I will have that jar of jam on the front, and I will also put a doily here. Right now I want to dedicate my time to something else. I made 2 pendants, and for making them I used the pierced scalloped circles from La Crafts, and also the double stitched circles from the same brand. I created a loop. The loop is positioned in between the paper layers. To make sure that it will stay in place, I used my sewing machine to stitch it down to the white scalloped base of the pendant, and I've also used my wet glue to secure them there, and just to make sure that they will not go anywhere once I will start to use my recipe box. So on these pendants, I want to put the remaining 2 bears that I've also colored. I will glue them down on foam dots and position on top of the pendants just a little bit later. Right now I want to determine where exactly I want to position the pendants, and the idea is that they will be hanging from the bottom of my recipe box. Let's say I want one to be, okay, let's see, one will be at 1.5 from the left side, and the other one at 1.5 from the right side of the box. I will just poke a hole, okay, something like that, wide enough to be able to string my pendants through, pull the thread through the hole. And I want to mention why I made the loops on the scalloped circles, because if I was going to simply glue down the thread to the scalloped piece, then once the box was folded, the pendant would naturally want to turn to the left or to the right side, and I want it to be straight against the surface of the fridge because I think this looks nicer than the other way. Okay, so now I will tie a knot here. I will do the same with the second pendant. This is how it looks like. These guys here, just to be on the safe side, I will secure them with some Scotch tape, like that. Now we are ready to assemble the box, and I will start with the small flaps here. On the sides, I will apply some glue to them, and then I will attach those to the longer flaps which do not have the designer paper on them. And once I have that done, I will apply glue to the longer flaps, and I will close my box while gluing everything together, like so. The most of the work here is done. Now, let me tell a few words about the dividers that I have right here. For the tabs, I've used the half doily die from the kit, this one, and I have, well, in my case I decided that I need 6 dividers, and 2 of them have that doily on the right side, 2 more have it on the left side, and then 2 additional ones have the doily in the middle. So once I place these inside the box, everything looks neat and nice like that. So let me tell you the measurements of the dividers. Each one of them is 5 1/4 by 3, and I'm talking right here about the white base. The designer paper is 1/8 of an inch smaller from each side, and that means that you have 5 1/8 by 2 7/8. Okay, so the dividers will go inside the box once we are completely done with embellishing it. And while I was thinking about embellishing the front of the box, I realized that I did not tell you that the paper that I used for this project is the Carabella Home Sweet Home. I matted another piece of the designer paper with white cardstock, and white cardstock here measures 4 1/2 by 2 1/2, and correspondingly the designer paper piece is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the measurements that I just gave you. I also cut out another pierced scalloped circle and the double stitched circle from Lowland Crafts, and this way I will be able to complete the design of my recipe box. dividers will go inside. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to explain what determined the size of the box. I have here a few spare pieces that I thought I will use, but I can see now that I will not. But these were also very nice to make. Okay, so the size of the box was determined by the index cards that I have here, because I really like to use those for scribbling the recipes and copying them on paper from the internet. So I thought that I will make a box which will match these index cards, so you can put a few of them inside wherever you like, in between the dividers. Finally, I want to attach those magnets, and let me put this whole piece inside just to create some support while I will be gluing the magnets down. The magnets that I'm using are 13 millimeters in diameter, and it corresponds to half an inch. They're about 1/16 of an inch in height. I will glue those down using Ranger glossy accents. I've already tested it on some other projects, and I found out that it is perfect for gluing the magnets down to the paper. And I want to glue those straight ahead to the paper and not beneath the paper, because they will stay as strong as they are once they are not covered with anything. So this is one of the reasons why I'm not gluing them to the base of the box first and then covering it with the designer paper. I know it looks less beautiful than it could, but it's more stable that way. So I will glue them down offline to the box. I hope you liked 2 of my projects that I shared with you today. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments below, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.